Hi everyone! Today we'll be talking about one of my favorite artists, as you may be able to tell by the shirt. We're talking Outkast. Now I've had the pleasure of listening to their discography for the past 2 weeks to come up with the cream of the crop. I'm calling this, undeniably, the top 10 best Outkast songs. Just to stir things up a little bit, I'll have my pick for an overrated song at the end. But in the meantime, let's get to the top 10. At number 10, we have Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music from the album of the same name. Antoine Patton, aka Big Boy, and Andre Benjamin, also known with the number 3000 added, were originally rival MCs from lunchroom battles at Tri-Cities High School in East Point, Georgia. Antoine had 4 brothers and 6 sisters and lived with an extended family under one roof, while Andre was an only child. From the get-go, they had 2 separate identities. But there was a lot of mutual respect there as well. Both of them took rapping and music very seriously, as their only way of life. Once the duo decided to team up, they were going to take the name 2 Shades Deep. But after hearing another group had that, they had to turn to the dictionary. The word Outkast popped out to them. They would definitely prove to be outsiders. The group would be pursued by Organized Noise Productions, a collective who produced records around Atlanta. The teenagers fell in love with the dedication of the production team and the extended Dungeon family, a team of rappers and beat makers who hustled beats out of an unfinished basement. The boys would skip school to work on tracks. Andre even dropped out entirely. Organized Noise would get them auditions with L.A. Reid for a record deal. On the first try, rapping in his office, Reid was not impressed. After the young men got even more focused and dedicated to the craft, Reid was invited to one of their shows, and with some showmanship and a rowdy crowd, he then decided Outkast was ready for the big time. Andre and Antoine were signed to LaFace Records before graduating high school. Organized Noise produced their first album, and their half live band, half drum programming blend is organic. On its title track, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, there are digital 808 drum hits beating along with a flowing live bass and some serious guitar wah-wah twang. The title track is clearly indebted to George Clinton's Parliament Funkadelic Multiverse, the hook of the title riffing on the melody from Parliament's Children of Production. But it wasn't just West Coast G-Funk. There's some stank on it. It wasn't quite East Coast Shaolin either. At a young age, it was clear. Outkast was about something different. Antoine rapped hard with authority, while Andre was more methodical, playing with cadences. The group would be famously booed at the Source Awards the year their debut was released, with Andre simply remarking, "The South got something to say." From the jump, they were already way ahead of their time. Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music is a funky, frenetic jam from the playa and the poet. Still teenagers and incredibly sure in their gifted abilities. It's a feel-good kickback that is meant to be played with your woofers blaring outside at a summer shindig. And number 9, we have ATLiens from the album of the same name. Their debut album, especially its lead single, the in-the-pocket head nodder Player's Ball, proved to be a big success. So Outkast was given even more creative control to make their sophomore effort. Both men were going through their own issues. Antoine's aunt, who he considered a mother to him, got ill quickly and passed away. On top of that, he became a 20-year-old father. Meanwhile, Andre ended a 2-year relationship and decided to completely reinvent himself, becoming completely sober and adopting a vegan lifestyle. Despite Dre dropping the Mary Jane, the sound of ATLiens was more blunted than ever. The duo took the idea of being outcast of society extraterrestrial. There is a hypnotic haze throughout, and like Southerners talk a little slower than Yankees, the LP has a dirty South drawl. The team would record around 35 songs and whittle it down to 14 for the final. The title cut is popping, minimalist rhythm, mixed with out-of-this-world soul. ATLiens was one of the first songs produced by Dre and Antoine themselves, after apprenticing with Organized Noise. They were already throwing the normal way of creating beats out the window. At some point, Big Boy said they had a tuba player playing the bass notes on the track, before they decided it needed a more traditional bass guitar bounce. They were already thinking out of the box, and Andre famously quotes about his life, "No drugs or alcohol, so I could get the signal clear as day." They were fearless and pushing their own creative limits. Despite aiming beyond the stars, Outkast was endearing themselves to hip-hop fans for being the spacey misfits with serious lyrical acuity. ATLiens is airy, ethereal spirituals for the club, and an ode to their southern roots that for some reason wasn't included on their best of compilation, but it still bangs. At number 8, we have Morris Brown from Iowa. Fast forward 10 years and Outkast had not only broken through to the mainstream, they went Hollywood and created a madcap musical motion picture set in the alternate Prohibition era. Cast had so much clout, they were given creative license to make a movie that has elaborate Cab Calloway cribbing jazz singing and Big Boy carrying around a flask that has a CGI talking rooster on it. Idlewild definitely shoots for the moon, with its mileage depending on how much you enjoy Antoine and Andre learning to act on the fly. The draw was, of course, the music, but most of the film leaned on Big Boy's fantastic bangers from Speakerbox. The Idlewild LP was more companion album than true soundtrack, only containing 7 songs that were in the feature. The LP very much plays as the 2 previous solo albums smashed together, sometimes thrillingly, sometimes off-kilter, on what would sadly prove to be the swan song for Outkast. Morris Brown only appears on the credits, and the song's roots trace back to the Stankonia sessions in 1999. The name refers to the Georgia College, and the group called in the Morris Brown College Marching Wolverines to record its bright Oompa brass hook. But the song never came together at the time, and would be brought back during Idlewild sessions. The song was produced by Andre, but he doesn't appear on the track. Instead, Big Boy spits out the Outkast State of the Union over a sunny, marching momentum. Steady accomplice Sleepy Brown joins in, smoothly singing, "The game done changed, Outkast came to heat it up." The feel-good chorus is bold, sung by Scar, doing his best Confessions-era Usher, along with assistance by the fresh-faced Janelle Monáe. The big band really swings, and the beat is truly inventive. As much as Andre's rap voice was missed all these years, his production was probably missed even more. On Morris Brown, the hook sings about making a musical masterpiece, and it's a love song to music itself, and an upbeat classic that Outkast rode into the sunset. At number 7, we have So Fresh, So Clean from Stankonia. Organized Noise was a huge part of molding Outkast's unique sound. The collective was Rico Wade, Ray Murray, and Sleepy Brown. They made some big waves with TLC, with their fingerprints all over their monster hit, Waterfalls, that gave them the clout, so they had plenty of respect from the Dungeon family. After Antoine and Andre whiffed on their first audition, the Organized Noise crew put them through a sort of boot camp. They would have them run, and then have them freestyle, to work up getting stage ready. The military drills sharpened the teens' rhymes, and their focused work ethic and organized productions inspired the young duo. By Stankonia, Big Boy and Andre had learned a lot about production from Organized Noise, and the majority of the album was produced by Earth Tone 3, the collective of the duo, alongside Mr. DJ David Sheets. So Fresh, So Clean, however, was one of the handful of tracks still produced by their mentors. Rico came up with the hook. After coming out of the shower, the refrain just popped into his head. That day, he took it into the studio, and they came up with a smooth electric keyboard melody, and Sleepy Brown crooned his sweet falsetto for the chorus. Outkast had dozens of tracks in the fire for Stankonia, but they weren't going to turn down a beat this fly. On So Fresh, So Clean, the rhythm is cooler than a cucumber. Washes of synthesizer pads bathe over your ears, with walking, tinkling electric piano, a steady MPC drum and bass bounce, and Sleepy lending sensual vocals. Andre's rhymes are tongue-twistedly complex, and Big Boy flows like the Mississippi River. Over the ice-cold stride, they have a blast, elaborating how cool and slick they are. So Fresh, So Clean is a purposeful pimp strut, where Outkast makes it sound downright sexy to feel yourself and practice a little self-care. At number 6, we have Spotty Oddie Dopalicious from Aquemini. From the jump, the distinct individuality of each member of Outkast was one of their greatest strengths. Big Boy, the hard-nosed hustler, and Andre, the free-spirited wildcard. On Aquemini, they gave this yin-yang duality a name by combining the pair's zodiac signs. With 2 successful albums under their resume, they were given even more creative room to explore their eclectic influences. Aquemini exudes a genuine love for all types of music. Organized Noise partly avoided leaning on samples too much for legal licensing reasons, which led them to using live musicians. It certainly didn't hurt that Atlanta was a southern hub for musical talent. Outkast followed suit. Sleepy Brown had done an album titled Sleepy's Theme, and those same session players were called in. The duo and the band lived and worked in the studio for weeks straight. Much of the tracks came from jams, where one player would come up with a chord progression and the rest of the group would build on it. One day, they landed on Spotty Oddie Dopalicious, and man, did they discover a pure vibe. Spotty Oddie Dopalicious is a song that is undoubtedly being played at dispensaries around the world right now. With its laid-back rhythm and swirly bead curtain phasey guitar lines, you might catch a contact buzz. Big Boy referred to the track not as spoken word, but smoking word. The duo, along with Sleepy Brown, who was told to just sing about a day in his life, used the freedom of the groove to light up a backwoods of free associative thoughts, mainly revolving around fine females. The production breathes with a luxurious three-dimensionality. When the dub reggae brass melody from Horns Unlimited enters, it elevates the dance higher than you thought it could even go. As our narrators paint with words, the groove continues to stretch out, popping off to give the drummer some before settling right back into the pocket. Spotty Oddie Dopalicious is an organically freaky pimp soliloquy meant to uplift chakras at the After Hours Club and a stoner standard. At number 5, we have Hey Ya from The Love Below. When Outkast went on tour, they had 2 separate tour buses, one rowdy and one relaxed. Antoine and Andre's differences not only define the group, but also their relationship with each other. As they drifted apart both personally and musically, Andre decided to move to LA to pursue acting. It wasn't a smashing success, and he spent most of his time there working in his home studio using Pro Tools to write songs that didn't sound like Outkast. Most had singing instead of rapping, and the genres were boundless, unconcerned with labels. The duo would decide to release 2 solo albums under the Outkast name. The Love Below probably got the most press ink of the 2. Andre tried his hand at every zany idea he had stored up, and the album zigs and zags, in an amalgamation of out-of-the-box, rarely heard outside deep Prince cuts. It's filled to the fringes with freewheeling funk, drum and bass jazz, and old-timey cabaret. Hey Ya was the ubiquitous, inescapable song of 2004. So popular, it got over-the-hill white people dancing at weddings. Released alongside the rise of the iTunes Store, it became the first single to sell 1 million downloads and become platinum. At 99 cents, it was a no-brainer. Hey Ya is an upbeat ball of energy, like a cup of espresso straight to your noggin. Aaron Mills from Cameo was brought in to play bass, but everything else is played by Andre. A bouncy acoustic strum is buoyed by bubbly synths and childlike melody. The lyrics deal with our narrator fretting about remaining faithful, but the effervescent momentum is unstoppable. There may be darkness beyond the horizon, but we might as well dance while we can. Hey Ya is irrepressible, incandescent power pop, where Andre 3000 seized on the zeitgeist and turned emotional ambiguity into a Polaroid-shaking celebration. At number 4, we have B.O.B, Bombs Over Baghdad, from Stankonia. Stankonia is the name of the studio Outkast bought from Bobby Brown. It had sentimental value because it's where they recorded their first verses for a TLC remix. Andre said the name was meant to be an alternate universe, a place where you could open yourself up and be free to express anything. The full-length album would hold true to that ethos. It's a kaleidoscopic turn-of-the-century tour de force. B.O.B, Bombs Over Baghdad, was the explosive first single, overflowing with jittery drum and bass rhythms, rave culture EDM, and mile-a-minute flows. The gospel choir from the Morris Brown College join in, preaching power, music, electric revival over simmering synthesizers. And with both MCs at the top of their game, it sounds like the cusp of a revolution. Andre would say the song was inspired by the urgency and the music of Rage Against the Machine. Its 21st century funk was banned from many radio stations at the time for the political message it was presumed to have. But Dre said he had just cribbed the title from the news. In his head, the half-hearted Iraq bombings were a metaphor for the lack of dedication in the music industry. Outkast were the reinforcements. Somewhat crazily, the label suggested Kid Rock to play the trippy Hendrix electric guitar solo at the end, hoping to add some star power. Thankfully, the band didn't bow to that demand, and the wild-eyed acid-soaked solo is played by either David Wild or Donnie Mathis from Stankonia's studio ensemble. From the start, this track is relentless, and the rapid-fire deliveries from both Big Boy and Andre 3000 turned hip-hop heavyweights into legends. B.O.B is a trunk-rattling call to arms that hits with larger-than-life enthusiasm and blitzkrieg intensity. At number 3, we have Rosa Parks from Aquemini. Outkast was praised for their positivity they spit in their lyrics, tending to avoid the violence or misogyny of contemporary East and West Coast rappers. They had verses where women were not solely one-dimensional and had lives, dreams, and desires. In 1999, however, there was one woman who took offense to their music, civil rights icon Rosa Parks, whose name was used on their latest single. She sued, alleging that the song misappropriated her name, also objecting to the obscenities within the song. Outside the name, though, the only real reference to her is the hook. Aha, hush that fuss, everybody move to the back of the bus. Outkast argued the title was an homage, referring to Miss Parks metaphorically, while implying the group is overturning hip-hop's old order, and that people should make way for a new style and sound. Outkast got the case dismissed on First Amendment rights, though Parks eventually repealed and settled, with Cast agreeing to set up a fund in her honor. The fellows later said family members said there were no hard feelings from Parks, and blamed greedy lawyers for all the hassle. Rosa Parks, the song, is a breezy, soul-clapping bouncer, bluesy acoustic guitar strummed over turntable scratches and smooth, mellow bass lines from Preston Crump. The boom-bap rhythm is a southern fried boogie that gloriously breaks down into a stomping harmonica interlude, played by Andre's stepfather, a pastor putting some straight-up religion on a rap record. Produced by the duo themselves, Outkast took the production lessons from Organized Noise and evolved on the fly. Their flow might be at their peak on the song. Their lyrical acumen and head-whipping cadences damn near untouchable. Rosa Parks is a joyous roller rink rockaway of deep South street corner signifying. At number 2, we have The Way You Move from Speakerboxxx. The Love Below hogged a lot of attention, but Speakerboxxx is the better album, a consistent, filthy, funky banger. Andre would rightly get a lot of props for his production, but Big Boy's ear for melody and arrangements are kind of slept on. After Outkast dissolved, Antoine kept churning out forward-thinking grooves. His first solo album, Sir Lucius Leftfoot, the son of Chico Dusty, was absolutely killer. Its high points could measure up pound for pound with the best of Outkast. Somewhat insanely, the Speakerboxxx The Love Below had 120 songs recorded in total, and then those were narrowed down to 39 for release. This still made the two LPs well over 2 hours in length. Both the poet and the player were in the zone and working quickly. Ghetto music starts off Big Boy's effort, charging hard with intense club beats and electric synthesizers, which slow down for a Patti LaBelle sample sung by the legend herself. And the top shelf only party never stops. The tracks are filled with A-list MCs. Jay-Z, Killer Mike, and Lil Jon all show up with something to prove, rapping alongside Antoine in his prime. The main beat from The Way You Move was brought to Big Boy by Carlton Mahone, aka Carlmo. At a cookout, the good vibes were in the air, and while jamming out to the 808 bounce, Carlton and Sleepy Brown came up with the sweet as honey hook, and a hit was born. L.A. Reid apparently wanted Usher to sing the chorus, but Antoine stood firm in his man, and Sleepy would stay on the track. Snappy digital claps and throbbing bass color the hard-charging verses, with Big Boy offering amusing mental narration about his favorite topic, fly females, all leading to punchy horns and the simple, seductive come-on. I like the way you move, with Sleepy Brown crooning like distant lover Marvin Gaye, horny and full of soul. The grimy bare-bones hip-hop during the verses only make the chorus explode, sounding lush and enormous. The Way You Move is a romantically primal dance floor burner that is so addictive you'll never forget the hook after hearing it. At number 1, we have Miss Jackson from Stankonia. Around the recording of 80 Aliens, Andre met neo-soul legend Erykah Badu. A couple years older than him, he found her intelligent and bohemian, and shortly after going steady, they brought a baby into the world. Not long after, their relationship became tumultuous. Dre would resent Erykah for acting motherly toward him. After the couple split, he started working on a song as a message to Badu's mother, his baby mama's mama. Andre thought he was being cast as some derelict father, and felt he was purposely being kept at arm's length. He needed to let her know he was for real. Originally worked out as a jam, her name was changed to Jackson because it had a better ring to it, and the soulful hip-hop of Miss Jackson was Outkast's first major crossover pop hit. Erykah felt it was hard to listen to, particularly Big Boy's verses, but her mama? She loved it, and even bought a license plate with Ms. Jackson on it. Antoine was no stranger to baby mama drama as well, having had 2 children from 2 different mothers. Both members unload their trials and their emotions in a heavy-hearted joint that hits very close to home. On Miss Jackson, a crackly sample played in reverse gives flickering home movie sonics, like you're getting the instant replay from the MCs. A humming synth drones, like a church organ bringing spiritual yearning. And the hook is a fantastic, succinct earworm. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, I am for real. Never meant to make your daughter cry, apologize a trillion times. And it's an anguished plea to your child's grandmother, letting her know you're truly dedicated. It's a journey from puppy dog love through irreconcilable differences. Big Boy's verses are a little more bitter, with wounds still fresh. You never got a chance to hear my side of the story, we was divided, before admitting being hurt to not being invited to his child's birthday. Andre raps about accountability, Yes, I will be present on the first day of school and graduation, making sure to promise he'd be there more than his father. Ms. Jackson became a sensation because Andre and Antoine took their expansive love of music and created a timeless, catchy hook with an affectionately old-school breakbeat that your granny could get down with. It's an unforgettable, bittersweet, big-hearted anthem for babies making babies everywhere, and Outkast at their very best. And now, I'll add 2 more songs that almost made the list. The first pick is Bowtie. There's a vein of hard, funky hip-hop on Speakerboxx like Bowtie and The Rooster that I would love to hear over a whole album. The rhythm hits so good, it gives life. The song ended up in Idlewild and practically steals the show, with Big Boi and Sleepy Brown looking pimped out, sliding around dancing among flapper honeys. Bowtie cuts it loose. It's electro gangster funk, learning from George Clinton's P-Funkiverse to keep it on the one. Big Boi's fly flow sounds like he's enjoying himself, while those melodic horns are swinging. And if it doesn't perk up your mood, sir, you might be dead. The other to nearly make the list is The Art of Storytelling, Part 1. Another classic from Aquemini. With all due respect to their first 2 albums, it was their first true front-to-back banger. And in hindsight, was the first time the duo were really in sync and full of ambition. The Art of Storytelling Part 1 reveals in the name what really drives the song. Both Big Boi and Andre weave a tapestry of lyrics full of depth. Big Boi intricately details his sexual exploits that recall a rendezvous with a shorty as safe as a snake on eggs, and giving a tour around the greater Atlanta area. Meanwhile, Andre rhymes a story about a neighborhood friend named Sasha with a self-destructive streak who dies of an overdose. He walks a fine line, being objective and telling it like it is, with empathy bleeding through. The Art of Storytelling Part 1 is Outkast at their 21st century Southern bard best, spitting vivid words to make you think over a hazy, hypnotic beat. It deserves to be mentioned among their best tracks. Finally, let's talk about what I consider to be the most overrated song by Outkast, and that is The Whole World. Released as a single from their greatest hits compilation, The Whole World was given a huge boost as the appetizer to Speakerboxx The Love Below, after Stankonia got everyone hyped over Outkast. So while it definitely was a huge hit, it's not one of my favorites. The Whole World has a music box melody that makes it a little too childlike. The chorus gets tired, as the same line is repeated 4 times in a row. And the whole world, da 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 da, with the words varied slightly each time. Earth Tone 3 aimed for big top circus energy, but the naive nursery rhyme gets a bit annoying. The labored chorus is repeated 4 times, padding it to 5 minutes long, with a beat that never really switches up until the last 30 seconds, where it decides to funk it up a little bit while fading out. Of course, Killer Mike does make a fierce performance in the song, one that really set his career off. Big props to him. His solo and Run the Jewels material are stellar. My main gripe is really the hook. It just strikes me as disingenuous and corny. The Whole World weirdly happy-go-lucky Sesame Street funk certainly made sense as a standalone song. It's by no means a terrible song, although it definitely didn't deserve to be anointed one of their greatest hits either. I'm not sure it would scratch my top 25 of their best. And yet, The Whole World is one of Outkast's most streamed songs. To me, it's overrated. As you're still watching, I want to share a deep cut as well. For that, I'm shining a light on Funkin' Around. The track was added as a non-album track to Big Boi and Dre Present Outkast, their greatest hits compilation. And while it may be a stretch to call it a hit, it's a really fun non-album jam. Funkin' Around starts with Andre doing a ludicrous British accent over silky synthesizers and syncopated 808s, with a Stevie Wonder synchronized horn riff, before the bass drops and the beat rides. Big Boi adds another reliably ace performance, and Outkast's not-so-secret weapon, Sleepy Brown, shows up to lend golden sensual vocals, while the groove just slaps. The arrangement is incredible. It's really surprising this one didn't make it onto Stankonia. This one totally has some stank on it. If you haven't checked out Funkin' Around, you should definitely add it to your playlist. So there you have it. That was undeniably the top 10 best Outkast songs. So, how wrong was I? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your top 3? Do you think The Whole World is one of their best songs? Let me know. And if there's any artist you'd like to see me rank, let me know in the comments below. Hope you stick around, and thank you for watching. And Andre, the distinct individuality in the vages. The distinct freaky pimps will... freaky pimps will... You might catch a constant... is buoyed... Buoyed? Still ambiguity... through irreconcilable... Society extra... I really thought I was going to land it too. It's like, no.